emergency door on your way in. Folks in the back, I'll invite you to start making your way towards the front, please. Or I'll invite Morris Samantha Berman to maybe help gather the folks in. Bring them into the sanctuary, please. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom to everyone joining us here in person. Shabbat Shalom to everyone joining us on the live stream, staying safe, staying warm at home. I'm going to invite us all to please just arrive here in this space. Our weeks ask so much of us, moving from one thing to the next, one conversation to another, one responsibility to another. But Shabbat asks something different of us. It says that we don't have to rush into holiness. We can just arrive here gently. So let's all take a moment to feel our feet on the floor, maybe soften your shoulders a little bit, maybe let your hands rest comfortably. Let's all take a deep breath in, hold for a couple of seconds, and a gentle exhale. Again, taking a deep breath in, noticing that we are here, and a gentle exhale, letting the week loosen its grip. Let's take one more deep breath, making room for Shabbat, and one slow exhale, allowing ourselves to be held in this moment by the sacred time. Next week, we will celebrate Shavuot, the giving of Torah. But before we stand again at Sinai, Shabbat reminds us that revelation doesn't have to come in thunder and in lightning. Sometimes it comes in the quiet. Sometimes it comes in the stillness, when we finally stop long enough to hear what our souls have been trying to tell us. So tonight, when we enter, may we enter Shabbat with open hearts, and may we set down what we do not need to carry right now. May we make room for rest, for song, for one another, and the quiet presence of holiness. How good it is that we're all here together. Let's join together in the words of Hine Matov.
Hine Matov Manayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Manayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב. ידעי דה 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 דה, הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב. ידעי דה 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 דה.
We continue to welcome Shabbat into our sanctuary, into our space by lighting our Shabbat candles. It is my pleasure to invite up Marluz, who will be helping us to light our Shabbat candles as we welcome Shabbat into the sanctuary, welcome that peace that we need at the end of each week. There you go. And as we light our Shabbat candles, we'll wave in that peace, wave in that love, wave in that energy of Shabbat, and we'll join together in the blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Lecha Dodi begins with motion. Lecha Dodi likrat kala. Come, my beloved, let's go out to greet the bride. It doesn't say sit and wait for Shabbat to arrive. It says come, move toward it, step out to meet it. That feels important because Shabbat does not always find us ready. Sometimes Shabbat and we are somewhere else. Sometimes in an unfinished conversation, still stuck in a work email, still stuck in worrying about something, stuck in a list of things that never seem to be done. So Lecha Dodi gives us a ritual of movement. Even if our bodies are standing still, our souls are invited to turn, to move from doing into being, from managing to receiving, and from the pressure of the week into the spaciousness of Shabbat. So Lecha Dodi gives us that ritual of movement. And the poem says something else. Shamor ve'zachor b'dibor echad. Keep and remember were spoken in one utterance. Shabbat asks both of us, remember what matters and guard the time that helps us to live by it. So as we sing these words tonight, may we not worry about arriving in this space perfectly, but rather let's take one step towards Shabbat, one step towards presence, and one step towards rest. Lecha Dodi can be found on page 138 or page 20. We'll be singing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. And on the 9th verse, I will invite us all to please rise and face the door as we welcome the Shabbat bride into our sanctuary.
Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, pene pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, pene pene Shabbat nekabela. La 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 la. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, pene pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, pene pene Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Emanu-El hamiuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, v'shem multiferet v'licha la 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 la. Lecha Dodi, likrat likrat kala, pene pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha Dodi, likrat likrat kala, pene pene Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat nechuvan elcha, ki himekol habracha, mero שבתיך לה 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 לך דודי לקראת לקראת קלה פני פני שבת נקבלה לך לך דודי לקראת לקראת קלה פני פני שבת נקבלה התעוררי התעוררי כי בעורק קומי אורי 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 שיר תעברי כבוד אדוני אייליך נגלה דה 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 לך דודי לקראת לקראת קלה פני פני שבת נקבלה לך לך דודי לקראת לקראת קלה פני פני שבת נקבלה.
Invite us to rise. We face the door as we welcome Shabbat into our sanctuary.
אוי ושלום עטרת מעלה גם בשמחה ובצהלה תוך אמוני עם סגולה בואי חלה בואי חלה לך לך דודי לקראת לקראת קלה פני פני שבת נקבלה לך לך דודי לקראת לקראת קלה פני פני שבת נקבלה לה 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 לך דודי לקראת לקראת קלה פני פני שבת נקבלה לך לך דודי לקראת לקראת קלה פני פני שבת נקבלה.
Don't sit down just yet. Let's turn and wave to those joining us on the live stream. Let's turn to our neighbor and wish them a Shabbat Shalom. We're going to transition now into the Baruch Hu, our call to worship. The Baruch Hu can be found on page 146 or page 28. 146 or page 28.
Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Ya-la-la-la-la,
seated. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide, and your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. And as heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai ha'ma'ariv aravim. Our Shema asks us to listen, not just to hear sounds, but to listen deeply, to listen beneath the surface of things, to listen for the oneness that holds all of this together. During the week, our attention gets divided in so many different ways. We're listening to the news, checking our phones, attending to the needs of others, the demands of our work, and our inner world can become scattered. But the Shema, with one word, gathers us back. Shema, listen. Listen for the still, quiet place inside of you. Listen for the presence of the divine in the people around you. Listen for the sacred thread that connects breath to breath, life to life, and soul to soul. This prayer doesn't ask us to begin by believing. It begins by asking us to just listen. Because sometimes faith starts there, not with certainty, not with understanding, but a willingness to become quiet enough, open enough, and present enough to simply hear. So as we join together in these words, may we gather all of those scattered pieces of ourselves, bringing them into this sacred moment.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vahed. You may be seated. We'll turn the page to the words of the Ve'ahavta, our love song to the divine. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha uvechol nafshecha uvechol meodecha vehayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alavavecha veshinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים.
Ani Adonai Elohechem.
Adonai
Elohechem. Emet.
The words of Mi Chamocha were sung with Egypt behind them and the wilderness ahead. That means that Mi Chamocha is a song of beginning again. Our ancestors sang before they knew how the story would unfold. They sang before they knew how they would find water or food or courage or direction. They sang because they had made it through one impossible passage, and now they could learn to walk into the unknown. There are often moments in our own lives where we stand on that kind of shore. Something has ended, something else has not yet become clear. We are grateful, but still uncertain, relieved, but we still feel tender. We might be free, but we're still learning what freedom is asking of us. Mi Chamocha gives us a song for that place, for that kind of crossing, a song for that first step, a song for that courage to keep walking. So as we sing these words, may we remember that freedom and liberation is not only a miracle of getting through, but it's also the sacred work of becoming who we are called to be on the other side. Mi Chamocha can be found on page 158 or page 40. Yismechu is a prayer all about joy and delight. Not distraction, not escape, but delight. There's a difference. Distraction helps us avoid the weight of life for a little bit, but delight helps us to return to life with a softer heart. Shabbat is not meant to numb us, it's meant to restore us. It gives us a space to notice what is good, the taste of challah, the sounds of singing, the presence of community, the breath in our lungs, being around the people we love, and the quiet gift of having made it to this moment. Yismechu reminds us that joy isn't always something we have to chase. Sometimes joy becomes visible when we stop long enough to receive it. And that's one of Shabbat's greatest gifts, because for 6 days we're trained to look at what is unfinished, what still needs fixed, what still needs doing, what still needs our attention. But on Shabbat, we're learning to practice at looking at as what is already here, because there are blessings waiting to be noticed. Yismechu can be found on page 162 or page 44.
Yismechu v'malachutecha shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu v'malachutecha shomrei, אותו שבת, חמדת ימים, אותו קראת שבת, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת, וקוראי עונג שבת, זכר למעשה בראשית שבת, זכר למעשה בראשית שבת, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת, וקוראי עונג שבת, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת, וקוראי עונג שבת.
I'm going to invite us all to please rise physically or spiritually as we prepare for the Amidah. The Amidah, also called Hatzefilah, the prayer, is this place where we stand before God, before the divine, however we understand that, not as some kind of performance, not with noise, but simply with presence. So let's take a moment to prepare ourselves. Feel your feet on the ground beneath you. Notice the ground supporting your weight. If you're seated, notice the chair supporting you. Let your body become a little more still. Let's all take a deep breath in and a gentle exhale, letting go of anything keeping us from being here in this moment. Let's bring our attention to our hearts, not to change anything, not to force anything, just noticing what we're maybe carrying tonight. Maybe we're carrying gratitude. Maybe we're feeling exhausted. Maybe we're carrying concern for someone we love. Maybe we're holding on to a little bit of hope. Maybe we're holding on to something that we can't quite name. Whatever it is, you do not have to leave it outside your prayer. You can bring it with you. Next week, as we stand again at Sinai and remember the gifting of Torah, the Amidah reminds us that revelation is not something that happened a long time ago. Sometimes revelation is the quiet truth that rises in us when we stand honestly. So in this silence, may we bring our full selves. May we listen for what needs healing. Notice what needs gratitude, opening ourselves up to what needs change. And may this prayer help us take one small step closer to the people we are called to become. Let's take one more deep breath in and a slow exhale. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. I invite you to use this time to daven silently, using the words here from our tradition or the words that are on your hearts. When you are finished with your prayer, you may be seated.
shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imlu amen. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. 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 Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
I'm going to invite us all to please rise again spiritually or physically as we remove the Torah from the Ark. It is my pleasure to invite up Sam G., who will be helping us with Hakafa. We're going to be at the bottom of page 364 or page 240, sorry, at the top of page 364 or 246 with the words Ki Mitzion Tetzei Torah. Yes. Again, we'll be together at the top of page 364 or page 246.
Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, udevar Adonai miYerushalayim.
We'll turn the page.
Baruch Shenatan Torah, Baruch Shenatan Torah, Le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo, Gadlu Adonai iti, Uniromema Shemo Yahzah. Etz Chaim hi lamachazikim b'tomchecha, Meusha. Etz Chaim hi
is at rest, you may be seated. For those who are going to be joining us from home and would like our page number, we are going to be in the book of Numbers. We are starting the book of Bamidbar, Numbers chapter 1, verses 1 through 4. It is my pleasure to invite up Chris Ledoux, who will be doing the Aliyah for us.
Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim. Ve'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Vayedaber Adonai al Moshe b'midbar Sinai, be'ochel moed, be'echad lechodesh hasheni, be'shana hashni'it, le'tzetam me'eretz Mitzrayim lemor. Sa'u et rosh kol edut b'nei Yisrael le'mishpotam, le'beit avotam, be'mispar shemot, kol zachar legolatam. מבין 20 שנה ומעלה כל יצא צבע בישראל. תפקדו אותם לצבתם, אתה ואחרון, ואתם והיו, איש איש למטה, איש ראש לבית אבותיו הוא.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'haye olam nata betohenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
On the first day of the second month in the second year after the exodus from the land of Egypt, Adonai spoke to Moses in the wilderness and said, "Take a census of the whole Israelite community by the clans of its ancestral houses, listing the names, every male head by head. You and Aaron shall record them by their groups from the age of 20 years up, all of those in Israel who are able to bear arms. Associated with you shall be a representative from every tribe, each one from the head of his ancestral home." Shabbat Shalom, everyone. There are moments in life that feel like Sinai. A wedding, a birth, a graduation, a conversion, a funeral that unexpectedly opens the heart, a holiday service that moves us in a way we didn't expect, a conversation that changes something inside of us, or a moment when we suddenly understand ourselves or someone we love, or even the path ahead, which becomes more clear than it had before. These are moments where life feels heightened. The air feels different, something opens, and something becomes possible. But then that moment ends. The guests go home, the sanctuary empties, the holiday decorations come down, families disperse, and then your email inbox fills up again. Errands return, the dishes pile up in the sink, there are bills that have to be paid, the ordinary world comes back. That's where our Parashat Midbar, begins. Not at the height of revelation, and not at the moment of thunder and lightning, and not at the scene of an incredible sight of a sea splitting, hearing the booming voice of God speaking, or even fire and clouds descending upon a mountain. We begin after all of that has already happened. Exodus gave us liberation, then the book of Leviticus gave us holiness and ritual and responsibility, and now, as we begin this new book of Torah, this book of Numbers, the Torah opens with these words, "Vayedaber Adonai al Moshe b'midbar Sinai." Adonai spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai. God speaks in the wilderness. That might sound obvious, it's where the Israelites are, but spiritually, that matters. God speaks not only on the mountain and not only in the miracle, not only in these peak moments, and not only when everything feels powerful and holy. God speaks in the wilderness. God speaks in this in-between place, in this unsettled space, in the place after the spiritual high, where the journey has to continue and the road is not yet clear to us. Sinai is where Torah is received, but the wilderness is where Torah has to be carried. It's one thing to stand at the mountain and say, Na'aseh v'nishma, we will do and we will hear. But it's another thing to live that promise when the road is long, when people feel tired, when a future is uncertain, when the community is imperfect, when fear begins to creep in, and when even something like nostalgia for Egypt begins to sound appealing, and where complaint starts to become a part of daily life. Sinai was our moment of inspiration, but Bamidbar, in the wilderness, is the test of whether inspiration can become a way of life. Maybe that's why our parashah can feel at first glance a little dry. After all of the drama that's come before, we open this new book and begin with a census. Names, numbers, tribes, families, military arrangements, and camp formations. Not exactly something poetic. Our Torah counts the Israelites tribe by tribe. It organizes the camps. It assigns places around the Mishkan. It names who will carry what. It gives responsibilities to people. And it tells us how the people will move through this wilderness together. And part of us might want to ask, is this what comes after Sinai? After Revelation, we get logistics. After thunder and lightning, we get a spreadsheet? Well, maybe that's exactly the point. After Revelation comes responsibility. And after inspiration comes organization. After this powerful moment comes the sacred, necessary question, now what? Who is here? Where do they belong? What role do they play? What are we carrying with us? And how do we all move forward together? Our Torah moves from thunder and lightning to names and numbers because holiness can't remain just an experience. It has to become a way of organizing our lives. A moment of meaning is beautiful, but a life of meaning requires structure. It requires commitment. It requires people who show up, and knowing that we are responsible for, and also who is traveling beside us. That was true for the Israelites, and it's true for us. We all have Sinai moments, moments when we feel stirred, awakened, and moved. Maybe it happens during the High Holy Days, when a melody opens something inside of us. Maybe it happens at a Shabbat service when, for a few moments, we feel held. Maybe it happens at a life cycle, standing under the chuppah, or holding a baby, or watching a young adult become B'nai Mitzvah. Maybe it's when we say Kaddish for someone we loved. Or perhaps it happens in study, when a line of Torah suddenly feels like it was waiting for us. Those moments matter. We need them, and they give us vision. They remind us of who we are, and they wake us up. But our religious tradition has never only been about peak experiences. Judaism is not only about the moment when the heavens open, it's about what we do the next morning. It's about whether the prayer we offered in the sanctuary changes how we speak at home, whether the Torah that we study changes how we treat the person who challenges us, whether the compassion we feel in a tender moment can manifest into actual care for someone who needs us. It's about whether or not the memory of Sinai can travel with us into those ordinary days of being human. Because most of life is not Sinai. Most of life is Bamidbar. Most of life is in the wilderness. Not necessarily in the sense of crisis, although sometimes it is, but in the sense that most of life is not yet fully settled. Most of life is never perfectly clear. Most of life is lived somewhere between where we have been and where we hope to go. We are always, in some sense, in the wilderness. A congregation is in the wilderness when it asks how to carry Jewish life into the next generation. A family finds itself in the wilderness when it's adjusting to a new stage in life. An individual might find themselves in the wilderness when they are grieving or healing or beginning again, or just trying to figure out who they are. A people can find themselves in the wilderness when the world feels uncertain and when old assumptions no longer hold, and then the whole road becomes complicated. But our Torah teaches us, do not say you will wait until you leave the wilderness and then God will speak. The Torah says, Vayedaber Adonai el Moshe b'midbar Sinai. God speaks there, in the wilderness, in the uncertainty, in the messiness, in the places where we don't know how things will turn out. That is where our Torah is meant to be carried. That's also why our Mishkan, that portable sanctuary, becomes so important, because the Israelites are not told to leave holiness behind at Sinai, they're told to carry it with them. The Mishkan sits at the center of the camp, and the tribes arrange themselves around it. When the people travels, the Mishkan travels. When the people stop, the Mishkan is set up again. It's fragile, it's portable. It has to be assembled and disassembled, carried and protected again and again. That's a powerful image of Jewish life. Because holiness is not something we visit once and then leave behind. It has to be carried. Torah has to be carried. Community has to be carried. And we know that carrying holy things is not always glamorous work. The Levites in our parashah are given the task of carrying the Mishkan. They don't just stand in moments of beauty. They have to lift, to guard, they pack, they unpack. They make sure the sacred center can keep moving with the people. And every sacred community depends on that kind of work, because a synagogue is never sustained by its most beautiful moments. It's sustained by the people who keep carrying Torah after inspiration has faded. It's carried by the teacher preparing a lesson for children, by the volunteers shutting up chairs, by the person who makes a phone call to someone who is lonely, by the mourner who shows up to say Kaddish, by the parents who bring their children even when Sunday mornings feel chaotic. It's by the board member who has to sit through another meeting because this institution matters. It's held together by the person who sings even when they don't know every word, and by the person who welcomes someone new. That is Bamidbar Judaism, not the Judaism of the mountain, but the Judaism of the road. And in many ways, this is the exact spiritual movement we make around Shavuot. Shavuot celebrates receiving the Torah, and we return year after year to Sinai. We might imagine ourselves standing there with our ancestors. We hear again that call of covenant, and we say again that Torah is not only ancient history, it is ours now. And Bamidbar comes to remind us that receiving Torah is only the beginning, because the real question is not only will we stand at Sinai, the real question is, will we carry Sinai with us? Will we carry it into the wilderness of ordinary life? Because Torah that stays at Sinai only becomes memory, but Torah that travels becomes life. There's a beautiful rabbinic teaching that asks why the Torah was given in the wilderness. Why not in the land of Israel? Or even why not in a city, a fixed and settled place? Our rabbis teach that the Torah was given in the wilderness because the wilderness belongs to no one. It is open, it is ownerless, and it is available. So too, the Torah is not the possession of any one person or family, one class of people, one generation, or one kind of Jew. The Torah is given in a place of openness so that anyone can receive it. But I also think there's another layer here. Our Torah is given in the wilderness because that is where we most need it. We need Torah when life is beautiful, yes, but we especially need Torah when life is uncertain, when we do not know the way, when we are tired, when community feels hard and our future feels clouded. We need Torah when we are somewhere between liberation and fulfillment, between who we are and who we are trying to become. The wilderness here is not a detour from our spiritual life. That's where spiritual life happens. And that is a profound truth, because sometimes we imagine that faith means feeling certain about something, that if we were simply more spiritual, we might feel more grounded, that if we were maybe more committed, the path would appear more clear, that if we actually received Torah, we would not struggle so much in carrying it. But our tradition tells us that's not the case. The Israelites received Torah and they still struggled. They stood at Sinai and they still complained. They saw miracles and they were still afraid. They built the Mishkan together and they still fought. They were counted then as a holy people, but they still had to learn, slowly and sometimes painfully, how to become one. Our Torah text doesn't hide any of that from us. It gives us the wilderness because that is where people become real, where communities become real, where the covenant becomes real. Not in times of perfection, but in the moments of actual practice, in the daily act of caring. And that's the invitation this parasha has for us right now, to ask ourselves, what Torah am I carrying? What teaching, what values, what promise, what sense of responsibility or sacred commitment am I being asked to carry into this stretch of the journey? For you, that may be a Torah of patience, of compassion, of showing up, a Torah of tikkun, of repair, of courage. Maybe a Torah of simply letting go of what cannot be carried. Or maybe your Torah is the Torah of helping someone else carry what has become too heavy for them. Because none of us carries Torah alone. That's another reason why this census matters here. Because our parasha begins by reminding the people they are a part of something larger. They're counted by tribe, by family, by household. Each person has a place and each person belongs to this journey. The wilderness is hard enough, and none of us have to cross it alone, because that's what community is for. We don't remove the wilderness from each other's lives. We can't do that. And we cannot smooth every road. And we certainly cannot answer every question. But we can travel together. We can help each other remember what we are carrying. We can help keep that Mishkan at the center, to help each other and to hear that voice, not only in the thunder, but in the quiet wilderness as well. That, to me, is one of the deepest truths of Jewish life. We need Sinai. We need the mountain. We need those moments of inspiration and revelation. And we need moments where the world feels bright and holy and everything seems clear. But we cannot live on the mountain forever. Eventually, we have to walk and return to the world. Eventually, we have to take that Torah we've received and carry it into the places where it is needed most, into our wilderness. The Israelites could not stay at Sinai, and neither can we. Bamidbar comes to tell us this isn't a failure of revelation, it's the purpose. The mountain gives us the vision, but the wilderness teaches us how to live it. So as we begin this book of Bamidbar, and as we stand in the season of Shavuot, may we not only receive Torah, may we carry it. Carry it when the road is clear, and carry it when the road is uncertain. In moments when we feel inspired, and in those times where we're just trying to take one next step. May we carry it in words of kindness, acts of responsibility, and the quiet holiness of showing up again and again. Because Sinai was never meant to be the end of this journey. It was just the beginning. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. At this point in our service, we call to mind all of those who are in need of healing. Our community is praying for a number of folks at this time. Barbara Bergman, Bob Brovler, Charlene Brovler, Susan Brovler, Leslie Brown, Christina DeSuvic, Maggie Ingebretson, Barbara Esmond, Joel Esmond, Bill Fisherman, Sue Gupta, Nancy Halevi, Linda Rose Herman, Marcus Hyman, Judith Hyman, Mark Justin, Marcia Katz, Aidan Kozlovich, Lee Kurth, Mel Lang, Herbert Latner, Stuart Libby, Nancy Lipset, Rebecca Magana, Gordon Matsuoka, Claudia Mendoza, Leo Mendoza, Arjuan Meredith, Mitzi Mild, Nina Morgan, Stuart Novick, Paula Perry, Martha Randolph, Jennifer Reed, Bonnie Richmond, Wendy Robbins, Patricia Sarles, Arlene Siegel, Haya Simcha, Jeffrey Snyder, Noah Tobinkin, Mike Truss, Keith Turo, Butch Ogun, Gerald Umeda, Harriet Weissman, Robert Wolf, Cheryl Wolf, Ruth Yathabetz, and Kathy Zane. I will also apologize. I made a mistake here a couple of days ago. Herbert Latner passed away, and we will be sharing information about his funeral that will be going out soon. If you are thinking of someone or someones who are in need of healing, I will invite you to please share their names with us now. And I'll add to that list my Aunt Sandy Sherrill. The words of Misha Baruch can be found on page 371 or page 253.
May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Sending a refuah shlema to all of those names mentioned here, all of those names we hold in our hearts. Amen. I will invite us to please rise physically or spiritually as we return the ark. I will invite Sam G to come back up to the bima to help us for Hagbah. will be at the bottom of page 370 or page 252 with the words Vezot HaTorah, and then we'll turn over to Etz Chaim Hi on 374, page 256.
Zot HaTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai v'yad Moshe Etz Chaim hi lamachazikim bo
Seated. I will invite Josh Wish up to our bima with some announcements.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. And Rabbi, with the Torah portion tonight, I know you're saying it doesn't always seem like the most dramatic. Maybe it's because I'm a policy wonk. When I see census, I get excited. But I do also think that there is something to be said for that. As you see the census in the Torah replicated a few thousand years later with the census we have in the United States, which then becomes increasingly clear it's literally a definition of who counts, how we count and who counts. And you talked about the things that tie us together. It reminded me of another good Jewish boy, Stephen Schwartz, who years later wrote in his musical Pippin that unless I'm tied to anything, I'll never be free. So that census count ties us together and actually frees us up. So with that, I'll stop opining randomly on everything from musical theater to the American Community Survey and get to the announcements, which is why I'm here in the first place. All right, so first, a couple of just reminders. Temple office walk-in hours are now Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Outside those hours, of course, you can still talk to staff, but please, the staff does a lot with a little, so those hours would then be by appointment. We also do, as you saw tonight, continue to invite congregants to participate in our Torah services. Opportunities include, as Sam wonderfully demonstrated tonight, the opportunity to carry the Torah during the procession, chanting or reading Torah, offering Aliyah and performing Hagvah, lifting the Torah following the reading, and there is a Google sign-up sheet available if you'd like to participate. And tomorrow morning at 9:30, Rabbi will, of course, again be leading Torah study. Then getting into Shavuot, a number of things going on. Rabbi and the staff are keeping very busy, and so is Sam Humphrey and family. So there is a sunrise hike. Who likes to get up by 4 o'clock in the morning? Show of hands. There we go. At least we got two. Okay, fantastic. So there is a Shavuot sunrise hike to the Makapu'u Lighthouse Trail, where we will welcome the morning together and read the 10 Commandments at sunrise. That is this Sunday, May 17th. Meet at 4:45 a.m. The hike begins promptly at 5. The coffee may not be provided, but the coffee will be in your soul. So you'll gather at the gate to the Makapu'u Lighthouse Trail, and if you have questions, you can contact Sam. Sam, correct me if I've got this wrong, samuel.w.humphrey@gmail, or 513-322-7272. 515-322-7272. One more time, 515-322-7272. 7277. 515-322-7277. 515-322-7277. Sunday, this Sunday. And then if you can't quite get up that early, and if, like me, you can't remember Sam's phone number, sorry. Registration is closed, but a reminder for everybody who's already signed up, also on Sunday from 10 to 11, Rabbi is leading a special Shavuot-themed adult learning session titled Your People Shall Be My People, Ruth and the Sacred Work of Belonging. And then, of course, looking forward to next week, Erev Shavuot begins on May 21st, and on Friday, May 22nd, Rabbi will be leading a special study session at 6 p.m., followed by Shabbat services at 6:30. So note, Shabbat services start a little bit earlier next week, and also that study session will not be live streamed. So if you want to come to that one, you've got to do it in person. So for everybody who's listening to me on the thing, the laptop, the computer, the tablet, the phone, the whatchamacallit, if you want to be there for the study services, please come out and join us in person. And then a few other things. Something from our friends at the Jewish Community Services. We wanted to let everybody know about the launch of the Ohana Memory Cafe, a new program from JCS. The program offers welcoming social gatherings with activities for people who are experiencing memory challenges, along with their caregivers and loved ones. The next gathering will be Tuesday, May 20th from 10:30 to 11:30, right here at Temple E. Registration information is on the Community Happenings webpage of the temple. And then last few housekeeping things. As always, Hawaii Food Bank is still collecting food. What we're hearing in light of the recent Kona low storms is some of the most needed items include canned protein, soups and stews, canned fruits and vegetables, and rice. And of course, as always, if you're able to dig into your wallet and pull out some monetary donations, that always does the best for the food bank because of their economies of scale. $10 provides 21 meals, which seems impossible, but they are able to make that happen. And two last things, and then I really will leave. Quick reminder of spoof emails. Temple staff will never be asking anybody for gift cards, confidential assistance, direct financial support. So if you're seeing any email that purports to be from the temple, but it's not from shaloha.com, then be suspicious, my friends, and don't follow that. And then finally, after tonight's oneg, please help out with two things. We do try to close the temple gates at 9 when security leaves, so if you could try to wrap up at 8:45. And speaking of wrap up, if you see any crumbs falling on the ground, if you could wrap those up too, and then pop them into the nearest trash receptacle, that would be great. With that, I will now turn it over back to the rabbi as it belongs. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you. I will invite us to go ahead and rise physically or spiritually as we begin to wind down our service with the words of Aleinu. Aleinu can be found on page 586 or page 282. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. You may be seated. At this time, we call to mind those who have passed recently and in seasons past, As I mentioned earlier, Herbert Latner passed away this week, so we send our love and all of our supports to his family, to Janet, and the rest of her family. Information about the funeral is still being worked out, but as soon as we have all of those details, we'll send out an announcement from the community with information about the funeral as well as Shiva. So we hold their family in mind, and this week we're also remembering the yard sites of a number of individuals: Adrienne Wolf, Alexander Cohen, B. Schaefer, Bella Angel Elias, Benjamin Ratner, Bennett Miller, Bernard Ben Brown, Boris Dove Kusin, C. Neil Herrick, Carl Beck, David Kirsch, Dina Miriam Stoller, Gerald Martel, Getulio Escobia, Jack Epstein, Jack Krumstock, Jack Ungarten, Jean Schoenberg, Juliet Isaacs Heinberg, Martin H. Winston, Mildred Sirkin Sterling, Morris Simon, Morton F. Reich, Murray Hamer, Rebecca Kurzweil, Reva Hertig, Sarah L. High, Thomas Brown, and Wilma Vogel. If you are in a period of mourning, or if I happen to mispronounce the name of your loved one, I invite you to please share their names with us now. So if anyone is interested in being a virtual shomer for Herb Latner, please. Yes. If it is your custom to rise for Mourner's Kaddish, I will invite you to do so. The words of Mourner's Kaddish can be found on page 598 or page 294. Yit gadal v'yit kandash shemei rabah, be'alma divrach yirutei ve'amlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei l'chol beit Yisrael, ba'gala u'v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shvei rabah mevarach le'olam le'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabak v'yitfa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yithaleh v'yithalal shmei d'kudasha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tush b'chata v'nechemata. Da'amiram be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Zichrona livracha, may their memories be for a blessing. I'm going to invite us to make our way into the aisle. If folks are comfortable, maybe, and if your neighbor's comfortable, we can put our arms around one another. We're going to end with the words that we ended with last week: Sim Shalom. Give peace, give goodness.
Sim Shalom. Shalom, Tova uvracha. Sim shalom, Tova uvracha. Sim shalom, Tova uvracha. Chen v'chesed, chen v'chesed berachamim. Chen v'chesed, chen v'chesed berachamim. Sim shalom, tova uvracha. Sim shalom, tova uvracha. Aleinu
This is our last opportunity to count the Omer together before what holiday next week? Shavuot, yes, yes, our cheesecake holiday. So our blessing is all Sfirat HaOmer. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu all Sfirat HaOmer. Hayom arba ba'arba'im yom shehem shisha shavuot v'shnei yamim la'omer. Today is the 44th day of the Omer, which is 6 weeks and 2 days of the Omer, and it is the day Gavurah Sheba Malchut, strength within majesty or sovereignty. We'll join together in Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron l'maaseh v'reshit ki hu yom tehila lemikra kodesh zecher litziat mitzrayim kivanu v'chata v'chanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava u'ratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha-shabbat. L'chaim. L'chaim. Go ahead. And we will join together in Motzi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'tei avot. I'm going to hand this off to you. Mr. Behind you. Yeah. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us this evening. Please join us in the back for Oneg. Again, if you can help be Shomer for Herbert Ladner, please see Barry at some time before you leave. Great mitzvah to do for the family. So if you can help out with that, please see Barry. And we're coming up on Shavuot, everyone, so hopefully we'll see you all next week. There will be a dessert reception after service next week and a special musical guest. So, yes. I wish, yes. Beyonce will be here, yes. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.